Today, I'm trying 3 recipes for side dishes from the 1960s. And these are going to be recipes specifically using frozen vegetables because today's cookbook is the General Foods Frozen Foods Cookbook. This book was published in 1961. So side dishes. Sometimes I feel like they're a little bit of an afterthought, right? Maybe you're roasting a really beautiful chicken or you're grilling steaks, preparing some fish or something like that, and then you think, oh, I need a side dish. For me though, side dishes are kind of almost the main event. They're my favorite. So much so that whenever I go to a restaurant, I really have to think about it. I really have to look at the menu and think, am I ordering this because I like the main part of the meal or I like the side dishes that it comes with? So I have to think that through a little bit in my mind. Anyway, I really love keeping frozen vegetables on hand. You know, it's something that you can kind of have in your freezer at the ready, but the recipes I chose today, they're frozen vegetables, but they're kind of like slightly elevated. Just some interesting things that you can do to make them extra special. I'm starting off with a really easy one for broccoli Italienne. And it says it's very tasty with roast lamb or chops, baked chicken breasts, or pot roast. So the first thing that I have to do is cook my broccoli. This is frozen broccoli. I am cutting this recipe in half, so this is 5 ounces of frozen broccoli. And you just need to cook it according to package directions, and that of course is gonna vary depending on what broccoli you purchase. So this one, it just says to put the broccoli in a saucepan and add water to it. And I'm gonna put a little bit of heat under there. It says medium heat. And now I'm gonna go ahead and just cover that and let it cook for 10 to 12 minutes. Now that my broccoli is all cooked, I have to drain it. I have this little like spoon scoop kind of strainer that I love, especially if I'm just doing like a small quantity of vegetables. And then I don't have to get the big strainer out. So if you're interested, I'll link that in the description down below. But I'm just gonna put it right back into the pan. Okay, just a few more ingredients to go. So I've got my cooked broccoli. This is a tablespoon of olive oil. It said you could use melted butter or olive oil. And then I also have half a tablespoon of lemon juice and a little clove of garlic that I'm just gonna, mince right in there. Now I just need to give that a stir. Warm it up just a little bit before I'm ready to try it. Okay, I have my little dish of broccoli here, and I know that was super simple. Just broccoli, olive oil, lemon, and garlic. Sometimes even if it's something like quick and easy like that, I would forget to do it. I'm usually just like a little bit of butter, a little bit of salt on my cooked frozen veggies. Also, one thing I wanted to comment on is the use of olive oil as a suggested ingredient. And I know it existed, of course, olive oil existed back then in 1961, but I gotta say, like, I read a lot of cookbooks of that time period, and even further back. I've made a lot of recipes from cookbooks of that time period. Olive oil is not common in a lot of those cookbooks. So I was kind of like, oh, this is fancy. This is fancy. Okay, I'm gonna taste it. I did let the garlic kind of like cook in the liquid for a little bit too. It tastes really good. The lemon goes with it super well. Honestly, I'm not getting as much garlic as I would like. I think I would add more garlic to this. I think I personally, like, I followed the package instructions on how to cook this broccoli. I would cook it just a little bit less. It's a little bit softer than I would like, probably, especially because I did let the liquid cook for like a minute or two after I put it on top of the broccoli. It doesn't have any salt in it, and it doesn't bother me. I think it tastes good the way it is, but you do have to like broccoli, that's for sure. This does not mask the broccoli flavor, but it does make it taste extra good. Next, I'm trying out this recipe for creamed peas and mushrooms, and I'm pretty excited about it because frozen peas are my favorite frozen vegetable. So again, this one starts out by cooking your peas according to package directions. So because I'm cutting this recipe in half, I need 5 ounces of frozen peas, and I have 3/4 of a cup of water that I've brought to a boil. And now I just need to cover that, let it cook for 5 to 7 minutes. So my peas are all cooked and I drained the water away, so I'm going to set those aside and get to work on my sauce. Let's see, what do I have to do? First is butter. I need to melt some butter. All right, melted butter. We got it. So now I have to cook my sliced fresh mushrooms. The true sign of a special dish at this time period to me would be fresh mushrooms. Because you see a lot of canned mushroom recipes. Let's switch over to a spatula for this part. I'm gonna cook these mushrooms for a minute before I add my next ingredient. And that next ingredient is just the tiniest, teeniest, littlest bit of grated onion. So now I need to let this cook until the mushrooms are tender. Let's say those mushrooms are pretty tender, so now I have to add my flour because we're making a cream sauce, and that's what you do. So I need to stir that and let it cook. And now I'm gonna add my cream. This is actually half and half because the recipe calls for milk or light cream. So I have to cook this over medium until it is thickened. And I have my twist whisk at the ready if I need to switch over. But it's looking good, just the way I'm doing it now, I think. Yeah. I love mushrooms and I love frozen peas, so I absolutely had to try this. And it is definitely starting to thicken, so I'm gonna add my salt. Oops. And a pinch of nutmeg. Make sure that that gets all mixed together. Finally, I'm gonna add the peas. Now I just need to stir this together and let it heat through. Creamed peas and mushrooms. Is that what it's called? Yeah, it's creamed peas and mushrooms. Anyway, I'm super excited about this one because like mushrooms and peas, two of my favorite things. Love a cream sauce. Can't wait to give this a try, so I'm gonna do it. That's so good. Oh, I really, really like this. I feel like creamed peas like does not sound great, okay? But this is delicious. I love it. I think that the flavors of the peas, the mushrooms, and even that little pinch of nutmeg, like they just go together so well. Delicious, super easy. Another good thing about this particular recipe is that you can make that cream sauce ahead of time and then cook your peas later if you want. So, you know, something that you can kind of prep a little bit for. Before I start my next recipe, I have a confession to make. I forgot to put pepper in my creamed peas with mushrooms. I discovered it after I stopped filming and I saw that the pepper grinder was just all way off to the side. I was like, I forgot something. So admittedly, it was delicious without that pepper. I'm sure it would be even better with that little pinch of freshly ground pepper. Wanted to put that out there, you know, just in case, and you know, I did miss an ingredient. Anyway, my next recipe is gonna be for this spinach casserole. Much like the other recipes I've made, this starts by cooking your vegetables according to package directions. So I have 5 ounces of frozen spinach here and about 3/4 of a cup of boiling water. So I'm gonna pour that in carefully. So now I need to cover this and turn the heat to low and let it cook for about 3 minutes. While my spinach is cooking, I'm gonna start the other part of my spinach casserole. First, I am melting about a tablespoon of butter in a skillet. And after the spinach is done cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and drain that. Okay, butter is all melted. I just drained my spinach. So now I have to saute a little bit of onion. This is half a tablespoon. And I also have 1/4 cup chopped mushrooms, fresh mushrooms again. I'm gonna let that cook until the mushrooms are tender. That's been cooking for a couple of minutes and now I have a little bit of garlic. I'm just gonna mince it right in there. It's like a small clove basically. I'll let that cook for just a little bit longer. And since we're working with frozen vegetables mostly, I'm also a big fan of those frozen garlic cubes. I always have some of those tucked away in my freezer. Very, very convenient to have when you don't have a fresh bulb of garlic. I probably don't have to tell you that this smells incredible because it's butter, it's onion, mushrooms, and garlic sauteed, and it's gonna smell good. I have some flour, I believe this is a tablespoon, and I gotta cook that. This may look familiar from the creamed peas recipe. Now that that's cooked for a minute or two, I'm gonna add half a cup of milk. And now I just need to stir that, make sure everything is blended together, and cook this until it's thickened. That is thickening up very nicely, so I'm gonna add my salt. It's 1/4 teaspoon, and then just a little bit of pepper. Didn't forget it this time. And 1 hard-cooked egg that I've chopped up. I'm gonna stir that all together to combine. Finally, we're coming back to the spinach. I'm gonna add that to my sauce. And I'm just gonna make sure that that is all well combined. And I think, you know, once it's well combined, you could possibly stop here when it's heated through and eat it this way. But this is a spinach casserole, and there are just a few more steps that are gonna make it extra delicious and extra special. So my spinach mixture is here, and I'm gonna pour it into this casserole dish. This is a teeny tiny, like even smaller than my regular 1-quart casserole dishes. This is 24 ounces. I love these tiny little things. You could do it in whatever size dish that you have, especially, you know, I'm cutting this recipe in half, so this would fit into a larger dish if you make a full recipe. You could also do like individual ramekins if you're doing kind of a special dinner. That would be fun. If I didn't already say it, I did butter this little dish before adding the spinach mixture. I probably could have gone even a little smaller on this dish, to be honest. And yes, I do have a smaller one than this. Spread that out a little bit. We're just gonna like floof it a little to make it make it look a little fuller. Setting that aside because the next step is so exciting. You might know it's coming. It's a buttery breadcrumb topping. This one also has Parmesan cheese in it. I'm so excited. I love a buttery breadcrumb topping on my casseroles. So I've melted 1 tablespoon of butter, and I'm gonna add 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. I'm just using plain breadcrumbs. You could use panko breadcrumbs if you have them. And to that, I'm going to add 1/2 tablespoon of grated Parmesan cheese. I'm gonna just like heap that cheese a little bit. It's a little more than 1/2 tablespoon. I'm gonna mix that together until the butter is sort of absorbed into those crumbs and cheese. Bring in my casserole back. I'm actually gonna mix these crumbs a little bit with my fingers because I'm gonna end up sprinkling this on top with my fingers anyway. My hands are clean, I did wash them. This is a lot of topping for a small amount of casserole. I can't believe I'm saying this. I might not use all of these crumbs. We'll figure something out. We'll make something else where I can put these to good use. Nice, yes. My hands are crummy. But that's kind of what it looks like so far. If you can see that. I'm gonna pop this into my toaster oven for a few minutes just to get those a little bit browned on the top. Will you just look at how toasty that got? Can you believe it? Wow, that's all I have to say. It smells so good. I think I just have a great feeling about it, you know? Serve a little bit up here. Can you see a little cross section kind of? I'm just gonna try a little bit, see how it goes. I think it's gonna go well. We're about to find out. Oh, that is good. Okay, the topping is essential. I know I said you could stop and kind of like eat it as is. I think the topping makes it so much better even. That is so good. I was thinking, oh, this is gonna be like cream spinach. It's not quite. It's not quite. The use of milk rather than like heavy cream in the sauce made it a little less creamy and decadent than cream spinach, but then you add that toasty breadcrumb cheese topping. This is very good. I love the addition of the eggs too. It gives it a good like texture. I mean, I just like the taste of the eggs in there as well. You know, the same way that I like eggs in like a spinach salad, right? This is so good. I'm sorry, I can't stop. But it really is delicious. So we're changing up the location of my little book chat today. This is my dining room, but we're really here to talk about General Foods Kitchen's Frozen Foods Cookbook. And then the little tagline at the bottom is Modern Living with Frozen Foods. This cookbook was published in 1961. I love this one. It is a hardback book, and the book itself has a bit of texture to it. I don't know, it feels a little bit like an old textbook. I do have a couple of old home economics textbooks, and that's kind of what the feeling of this reminds me of. The cover and the back cover, they're just so vibrant and so colorful, and they display some of the dishes that you'll find inside this book. All right, so the inside, front, and back cover. Prepare yourself, just prepare yourself, because I don't know if you're ready for how cute this is. Will you look? Will you look at that? So the inside front is the same as the inside back. This section has a lot of different useful things. It's got maximum length of storage for frozen foods, so how long different types of foods are safe to keep in your freezer. It has the best frozen food sources of nutrients, and I mean, just the illustrations. I mean, I'm not even really paying attention to the content on these pages because it's so colorful and so cute. I just love it. We have a person stocking their freezer with bird's eye vegetables. We have a little spice rack here. I mean, I love it. I love it. So the book begins with the story of frozen foods. I read through this. I'm not going to go into all of it. It's basically, you know, it starts at the point where Clarence Birdseye gets interested in frozen foods. When I looked up the timeline on this, it looked like that was around like 1912. He started working with a couple of other researchers in the 20s, but you know, people were slow to adopt frozen foods. You know, they weren't sure of the safety at the time. And if you think back, if it's at anything that is brand new, you know, you might not be sure about it. And people didn't really have freezers to put frozen foods in either. So it says the infant industry needed more capital. And so in 1929, Clarence Birdseye and his associates turned over their patents and operations to what is now General Foods. General Foods. If you want to learn more about frozen foods and the history of frozen foods, there's a lot of information out there, more so than what's in this book. Throughout this introductory section, we have these great little illustrations in blue and black, and then we start to get into the actual chapters. And at the opening of each chapter, there's a beautiful color photograph of what's in store. So this is the Easy Vegetable Blender Soups. And I think that soup tureen is gorgeous. I just love it. I think it's so pretty. The pictures of the food within each chapter, they're black and white. So it's really like they save up those color photos for the introduction to each new chapter. So there's another black and white photo of some of the food. Ooh, look at this. So this is the beginning of the entrees section. What a spread, right? I think I'm just gonna go through and show you all the color photographs because they're in very specific places. This is the vegetable chapter, and this is the chapter that I mostly worked from. You also get, in the beginning of some of these chapters, you get a little gander at the packaging of that time. So these were Italian green beans, and this is what they would have looked like in 1961. I love looking at packaging from the past, and some, especially branded cookbooks, kind of allow you to do that. Oh, I have to show you this one too. I love this photo with the mixed fruit in there and the frozen dessert. It looks beautiful and like so festive, right? I think so. And it's the very beginning of the desserts chapter. I think it's a very good introduction. And then we have fruit drinks. What a party. To glorify a holiday fruit punch, wreathe the rim of the bowl with unsweetened whipped cream, lightly tinted and decorated with sprigs of mint. I think it's very pretty. That is what I want the holidays to look like right there. I just like the name of this chapter, Delicious This and That, right? It's just kind of a little catch-all. So garnishes, frostings, sauces, stuffing, just extras, little extras that maybe didn't fit anywhere else. And then we have jams and jellies. Ooh, cookout capers. We've got that too. That would have been great for the summer. Yeah, I think this little book, it's not very big really. It's very useful, and having frozen like vegetables, especially for me, is very convenient. I don't garden, I don't grow my own vegetables typically, but it's nice to have, like, especially in the middle of winter. We have a lot of colder months here in Ohio, you know, so I'm not going outside to pick anything fresh. It's just nice to have some frozen vegetable options at the ready in my freezer so that I can put together a quick side dish for a meal. So the recipes that I chose for today, I started with broccoli Italienne. This was super quick, super simple. The lemon and the broccoli paired so well together. I think they really, really went together nicely. I would have liked the broccoli to be cooked a little bit less. I followed the package instructions for my broccoli that I purchased. I would have just like dialed down that cook time a little bit. I even thought it was kind of long when I looked at the instructions. I like broccoli a little bit more tender crisp than that in that kind of dish. In certain instances, like maybe a broccoli soup, I don't mind if it's softer. Flavor-wise, I think it was really delicious. I mean, it was simple. It was just lemon, garlic, and olive oil. And no, there wasn't salt. I'm telling you, there was no salt in this. I still think it tasted good. Believe me, I do season my food. You've maybe heard me several times in some of my videos say that I think things are a little under-seasoned. I would add more of this or that. In this case, you could add salt if you wanted it, but I think this side dish would be especially great for a person who, for whatever health reason, needed to watch their salt intake. It's not a concern for me, but it is a concern for some of the people who watch my videos. So this one is flavorful enough, I think, that you don't really need to add the extra salt. It's not in the recipe, but if you think you want to, you can, but if you, for whatever reason, you're reducing your sodium intake, this is a great one for you, I think. The second recipe I tried was creamed peas and mushrooms. Peas are my favorite frozen vegetable. I always have a big bag of them in my freezer. That's like the one vegetable where I will buy the multi-pound bag because I know that I will eat it over time. I like to pair peas with different things, especially macaroni and cheese. I don't know if that's weird, but I love, if we're making like Kraft macaroni and cheese or something, you know, some nights you want something quick and easy. I will cook a little serving of peas to eat with it. That's like my favorite thing. And I absolutely love mushrooms too, so I was like, yeah, this is for me, isn't it? Delicious. I feel like creamed peas and creamed this and whatever, creamed vegetables, they get a little bit of a bad rap or something, like, oh, this is like bland or whatever. This was not bland. I'm telling you right now, this was delicious. This was very tasty. The sauce, even though I forgot the pepper, I did mention that, I forgot to put my little dash pepper in there. The sauce was really good. I loved the little touch of nutmeg. You don't want to add too much, especially because I think nutmeg is like not for everyone, let's just say that. If you need to leave it out, you can, but I really liked the nutmeg in here. And I like nutmeg in cream sauces when appropriate. I thought texture-wise, this was really delicious with the peas and the mushrooms. And then that cream sauce came in and sort of like made it a little bit decadent, a little bit special. But this is easy enough that you can make it for a weeknight dinner, whenever. You know, it doesn't take very long. I also really like that you can make the sauce portion of this ahead of time. Anything you can do to kind of like set yourself up for success, I think that's a good idea. And finally, I tried a recipe for spinach casserole. Wow. It was really good. I enjoyed this one quite a lot. Not quite like creamed spinach. I thought it was going to be, but it wasn't as rich and decadent and cheesy as creamed spinach. And I know I said as I was preparing it, you could probably stop at this one point and just eat it as is. I gotta say, those crispy, Parmesan cheesy, buttery breadcrumbs really do take this over the top. It makes it even better. Take the extra 5 to 7 minutes and make the breadcrumbs and then pop it in your oven or your toaster oven to get it nice and brown on the top because whew, it makes it so good, so good. I think a buttery breadcrumb topping just adds so much to so many things. I don't know. It's like a little extra step that you can take to make it look like you did something even more than you did. This was another one that was pretty easy to make. It did take a little bit longer. You had a few more steps, but I think it was worth it. It added a nice texture to it too. And I mean, I'm a fan of like different textures, I guess. The whole dish just had a really great flavor. Spinach, we've got mushrooms, things I already like. I usually try to choose recipes consisting of things I mostly like. I think this one is a little bit special, like a little bit even more special than the other dishes that I made for this video, and that you could possibly use this as kind of like a nicer dinner side, like even a holiday dinner. I mean, I think you could do that with any of these, but you know, we've got a little bit of Thanksgiving on the mind. I know that we like to stick a lot of times with the same side dishes for holidays, but if you're thinking of changing things up, or maybe your family is one who likes to try different things, or maybe you have like a Friendsgiving gathering, those are always fun. You can take something like this with you and see how it goes. I don't know, I think it's gonna go well for you though. So just a few ideas on what you can do with frozen vegetables to kind of make them special and jazz them up. If you love cookbooks and recipes from the 1960s, I have an entire playlist and I'll link it in the description down below. I want to say a big thank you to all of my Patreon members. If you are interested in joining and supporting me over on Patreon, I'll leave a link in the description so that you can do that. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.